The cell in administrative segregation measured 8 feet by 10 feet. A metal toilet bolted to the wall, a concrete slab with a thin mattress, a steel door with a food slot. No windows except the narrow opening in the door where guards conducted welfare checks every 30 minutes. Diana Sanchez had been in this cell for 16 days when her water broke at 3:47 a.m. She pressed the call button. Nothing happened. She pressed it again. No response. She began screaming for help. By the time guards responded 7 minutes later, she'd already started active labor, and she would deliver her baby alone, on the concrete floor, with no medical assistance, no clean towels, no pain relief. This happened in 2019 at a county jail in Texas. This is the story of how the American prison system treats pregnant women, and what happened to Diana and her daughter in that cell. Diana was 28 years old when arrested in March 2019 for possession of a controlled substance. She'd been pulled over for a broken taillight. Police found methamphetamine in her car. She was 7 months pregnant at the time. The judge set bail at $15,000, an amount Diana couldn't pay. She was sent to Bexar County Jail to await trial. Her public defender advised pleading guilty to secure a shorter sentence and get back to her other 2 children. Diana refused, maintaining the drugs weren't hers, that her boyfriend had borrowed her car and she didn't know what he'd left in it. In jail, Diana received minimal prenatal care. The facility had no OB/GYN on staff. Pregnant inmates were supposed to see an outside specialist monthly, but appointment scheduling was inconsistent. Diana saw a doctor once in her first 6 weeks of incarceration. The doctor noted her pregnancy was high risk due to Diana's history of premature labor with her previous pregnancies. He recommended weekly monitoring. The recommendation went into her file. No weekly appointments were scheduled. 2 weeks before giving birth, Diana had an altercation with another inmate over a phone. The other woman pushed Diana, who pushed back. Guards separated them. Both were sent to administrative segregation, solitary confinement, for fighting. The punishment was standard: 15 days in isolation, with no commissary privileges, no phone calls, no visits. Diana protested that she was heavily pregnant, that solitary wasn't safe. The disciplinary board noted her concerns in their report, but upheld the punishment. Policy violations required consistent consequences regardless of circumstances. Administrative segregation meant 23 hours a day in the cell, 1 hour of exercise in a cage by herself, meals delivered through the slot. Medical checks were supposed to happen daily for pregnant women in isolation, according to county jail policy. Diana saw a nurse on her second day in solitary. The nurse asked if she was having contractions. Diana said no. The nurse left. No further medical checks occurred during Diana's 16 days in isolation. On the night of April 14th, Diana woke to cramps she initially thought were false labor. She'd experienced them with previous pregnancies, but the cramps intensified. Her water broke at 3:47 a.m. She pressed the emergency call button, mounted on the wall. This button was supposed to alert guards immediately when pressed, but the button in Diana's cell had been malfunctioning, a fact documented in maintenance reports from 3 weeks earlier. No alarm sounded when Diana pressed it. She began screaming for help. The nearest guard station was 40 feet down the corridor, around a corner. The walls were concrete, designed to contain sound. No one heard Diana's initial screams. She continued screaming while contractions came faster. Finally, at 3:54 a.m., a guard conducting routine rounds heard her and called for backup. The guard looked through the door slot and saw Diana on the floor, clearly in active labor. Protocol required calling medical staff and transporting pregnant inmates in labor to the hospital. but the on-duty nurse was dealing with an emergency in another unit. The jail had no doctor on call at night. The ambulance service contracted by the jail had an average response time of 12 minutes. Diana's contractions were 2 minutes apart. The baby was coming faster than any response could arrive. At 3:59 a.m., Diana gave birth alone on the concrete floor of her cell. The baby, a girl weighing 5 pounds, slid onto the cold surface. Diana, having given birth twice before, knew she needed to clear the baby's airways. She reached for the newborn with trembling hands, turned her over, helped her start breathing. The umbilical cord was still attached. Diana had nothing to cut it with, no clean cloth to wrap the baby in. She pulled off her jail shirt and wrapped her daughter in it, holding her against her skin for warmth. Guards finally opened the cell door at 4:04 a.m., 7 minutes after Diana first pressed the call button, 5 minutes after the birth. They found Diana sitting on the floor, covered in blood, holding a newborn. The ambulance arrived at 4:11 a.m. EMTs cut the umbilical cord with sterile equipment, wrapped the baby in proper blankets, attended to Diana. Mother and baby were transported to the hospital. The baby, later named Sofia, spent 3 days in the NICU. She'd been born premature at 37 weeks. The delivery on a concrete floor in non-sterile conditions put her at risk for infection. She received preventive antibiotics and monitoring. Diana, meanwhile, was treated for minor tearing and released back to jail within 24 hours, as is standard practice. She wasn't allowed to stay with her daughter. She didn't get to breastfeed. She saw Sofia for approximately 6 hours total before being transported back to Bexar County Jail, where she was returned to general population. Her disciplinary segregation time completed. Sofia was released from the hospital to Diana's mother, who'd been caring for Diana's 2 other children. Diana wouldn't see her daughter again for 4 months. She pleaded guilty in August 2019, accepting a 2-year sentence with credit for time served and immediate release to probation. She was released on August 27, 2019, 4 months and 13 days after giving birth. Diana filed a lawsuit in 2020 against Bexar County, alleging that her treatment violated her 8th Amendment rights against cruel and unusual punishment. The lawsuit detailed the malfunctioning call button, the lack of medical monitoring, the failure to transfer her from segregation when she reported being in her final weeks of pregnancy. The county's response argued that Diana had received adequate care, that the birth happened unexpectedly quickly, that guards responded appropriately once aware of the emergency. The case settled in 2022 for $250,000. The settlement required no admission of wrongdoing from the county, but it did require policy changes. Pregnant women can no longer be placed in administrative segregation in their 3rd trimester, except in extreme circumstances. Emergency call buttons must be tested weekly. Pregnant inmates must receive medical checks every 48 hours, regardless of their housing location. These policy changes came too late for Diana and Sofia. But Diana's case isn't unique. Between 2016 and 2020, at least 18 women in American jails and prisons gave birth without medical assistance. Some delivered in cells, others in transport vehicles. Several gave birth while shackled, which remains legal in many states, despite medical organizations declaring it dangerous and inhumane. The Correctional Association of New York documented cases of women giving birth while handcuffed to hospital beds, unable to hold their babies immediately after delivery. The United States is one of only 2 countries in the developed world where maternal mortality has increased in recent decades rather than decreased. For incarcerated women, the risks are magnified. A 2019 study in the American Journal of Public Health found that pregnant inmates receive fewer prenatal visits, have higher rates of complications, and are more likely to deliver prematurely than non-incarcerated pregnant women of similar demographics. The study controlled for factors like age, race, and socioeconomic status. Incarceration itself, independent of these factors, worsened maternal and infant outcomes. Part of the problem is that jails and prisons aren't designed for pregnant women. Medical facilities lack OB/GYN equipment. Staff aren't trained in maternity care. Security protocols restrict movement and access to immediate medical response. And policies treat pregnancy as a logistical problem rather than a medical condition requiring specialized care. Pregnant inmates are seen primarily as security risks. They might try to escape during hospital transport, might give birth, and use the chaos to flee. These security concerns override medical considerations. The treatment of mothers after birth is equally harsh. Most states have policies separating mothers from newborns within 24 to 72 hours of delivery. The reasoning is security and lack of infrastructure for babies in prisons. But the medical evidence shows that immediate separation disrupts bonding, prevents breastfeeding, and causes psychological trauma to both mother and child. A handful of states have prison nursery programs, allowing mothers to keep babies with them for months or years. These programs show significantly better outcomes, lower recidivism, better maternal mental health, healthier infant development. But they're expensive and politically controversial, accused of being soft on crime, of treating prison like daycare. Diana's story illustrates the collision between punishment and maternity. She was being punished for a crime, drug possession, which she still maintains she didn't commit. But her baby was also being punished, born in a concrete cell, because the system prioritized discipline over medical need. Sofia's first moments of life were on a cold floor instead of in sterile delivery room. Her first smell was her mother's fear instead of clean hospital blankets. These circumstances weren't intentional cruelty. They were the predictable results of a system that doesn't know how to handle pregnancy because it was designed for men. Sofia is now 5 years old. She lives with Diana and Diana's mother. Diana completed probation successfully. She works at a grocery store. She struggles with PTSD related to the birth. Certain smells or sounds trigger flashbacks to that cell. She has nightmares about losing Sofia. She carries guilt about what her choices cost her daughter. But she's building a life. The question Diana's case raises is what society owes pregnant women who commit crimes. Do they deserve prenatal care? Do they deserve safe childbirth? Do they deserve time with their newborns? If we answer yes, then we need to redesign systems that currently answer no. If we answer no, then we need to acknowledge that we're punishing babies for their mother's crimes, which seems to violate any coherent theory of justice. For now, the system continues as it has. Women will give birth in cells, in transport vehicles, in conditions that endanger them and their babies. Policy changes in one county don't affect others. Diana's lawsuit changed Bexar County's policies, but not state or federal standards. And every day, pregnant women enter jails and prisons where their pregnancies are viewed as complications to manage rather than lives to protect. If you want to explore more stories about motherhood and incarceration, about how the system fails the most vulnerable, subscribe to Prison Diaries. Because Diana and Sofia's story reminds us that punishment doesn't end with the convicted. It extends to the innocent babies born into systems that were never designed to welcome them.